spear of the nation has at last come home. Those who survive, who march here today at MK's 32nd anniversary celebrations, are marching into history in this triumphant moment of victory in a just cause. The next time they march, they will be officially part of their erstwhile enemy, the South African Defence Force. The journey began 32 years ago when thousands of young South Africans joined Umkhonto weSizwe, then a fledgling underground army that had to be raised and trained in many far-flung parts of the world.
I was working with Bogart, Mini and so on. Some of the people who later got help. Later, we moved out of the country.
The route up to Africa was very difficult in those days. We had to cross Botswana, crossing the truck, crossing the semi-desert, and I was sent to Algeria for military training. I trained in warfare and automobile training. I completed my training in 1964. Came back to Tanzania. The people were coming back to South Africa to fight.
Of course, the journey had its own problems and difficulties, but we were able to overcome them. So we met there, and again, we dispersed to our various training centers. I was one which went to Egypt for a Rangers course. Others went to Algeria. We met others who were coming from Ethiopia, and they started teaching us whatever they had been taught during that brief moment we met there. Actually, I was the chief of staff of the detachment that went to Congo. And from then, there we started working on the camp. Actually, we found that it was an isolated old railway station. The few houses that were there, hyenas were staying there and so on. But as soon as we came with a few tents, they started running away.
Those were years of stress and anger, but MK was never a ragtag army. From the very beginning, MK's dreams and goals were forged in the crucible of military discipline. The Umkhonto weSizwe Manifesto of 1961 was an early indication of the Army's commitment to the liberation of all the peoples of South Africa from violent oppression.
The Umkhonto weSizwe Manifesto, dated 16th December 1961, reads in part like this. The time comes in the life of any nation when there remain only two choices, submit or fight. That time has now come to South Africa. We shall not submit, and we have no choice but to hit back with all means within our power in defense of our people, our future, and our freedom. Our program is the Freedom Charter. It defines the goals of all Democrats, regardless of color, race, or creed. The interests of the people and the demands of the revolution are inseparable, and the main concern of the People's Army. Umkhonto insists on a high standard of selfless devotion to the revolution on the part of all its members. To defeat the enemy in combat, our soldiers must be disciplined, trained to obey commands promptly, and ready to spring into battle when ordered. Vigilance, alertness, and readiness to engage the enemy at a moment's notice are qualities that can develop only out of discipline, proper training, and political consciousness. Umkhonto soldiers pledge themselves to safeguard the revolution at all times, regardless of personal hardships, suffering, and danger. Our procedure and rules are well defined, precise, and to the point. It is the duty of every soldier to know and understand the Army's code of conduct. We of Umkhonto weSizwe have always sought to achieve liberation without bloodshed and civil clash. We do so still. We hope, even at this late hour, that our first actions will awaken everyone to an awareness of the disastrous situation to which the nationalist policy is leading. We hope that we will bring the government and its supporters to their senses before it is too late.
But the racist regime did not come to its senses, not then, and not for the decades of struggle that followed.
Unfortunately, our entire high command was arrested in Rivonia. And this posed another moment. We had to wait again for some clearing of the situation.
In June 1964, Chief Albert Luthuli released this press statement. Sentences of life imprisonment have been pronounced on Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu, Ahmed Kathrada, Govan Mbeki, Dennis Goldberg, Raymond Mhlaba, Elias Motsoaledi, and Andrew Mlangeni in the Rivonia trial in Pretoria. Over the years, these leaders have advocated a policy of racial cooperation, of goodwill, and of peaceful struggle that made the South African liberation movement one of the most ethical and responsible of our time. In the face of the most bitter racial persecution, they consistently choose the path of reason.
Nelson Mandela's summary in his own defense during the Rivonia trial reads, in part as follows: "During my lifetime, I have dedicated myself to the struggle of the African people. I have fought against white domination. I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if need be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die."
If the regime expected Rivonia arrest to cripple Umkhonto weSizwe, they were destined to be mistaken. MK's character as an army and his depth of leadership carried it through from one victorious highlight to another. The Wenke operation was just one of the many military successes that were survived by veterans like Mujojo.
We had a clash with them, we dispersed them, and we quite killed a lot of them. And then we ran out of food. But they helped us by bringing supplies. Again, we moved on. We met them again, I think after a day. We also gained at least to get their rations. So we parted with the group that was going to Zimbabwe, and we proceeded down south.
June 16, 1976, a dark and bloody day in the history of South Africa.
We were young and angry and we wanted to shoot somebody, but our elders showed us what MK is all about. We never went for soft targets, for women and children, but for the installations of apartheid.
But life in the camps was not just dedicated to warfare. Care was taken from the beginning to develop MK soldiers in a holistic manner and to equip them for the great task of reconstruction when liberation is achieved. MK's cultural and artistic life was not neglected. Song and dance were always part of the training of soldiers. Forced to be far from home and family, MK became their home, their security, and their family.
I would like to just say how deeply moved we are by what we have seen since last night on coming here. The enthusiasm, the morale. We would like to say that after seeing just the spirit here in these bushes of Uganda, we are heartened. We will carry this spirit with us, that we can in fact pave the way and ensure that your return to the country that you love so much can be realized as speedily as possible.
Men and women fought and marched together. Gender equality was a fact.
Learn, diffuse, which is as a user, we grad. As if we rocket or we shed a grad. Refuse le, yes, Uma we set out all, you know, all, not B, no M. Uma we set out all, better on the spot.
The need for the eventual reconstruction of society in a strife-torn land was never forgotten. But through it all, the dream of liberation remained sharp and clear.
Reactionary forces